Brother Kadash giving all praises to Yahweh. Here, let me put my other headphone in. Okay. Brother Kadash giving all praises to Yahweh. I want to say that again. This title is going to be on reparations. This video is on reparations, and I got a video that I'm watching. So I just thought that I should, speak on it, because a lot of times, like I watch these videos, and they get interested, and I kind of like just talk to myself about the points, or like I kind of debate or argue with myself about the points. So I was like, man, why not just make a video when you're doing that, to point out some of the things that they say, because I like to think of myself of being fair, just being fair and trying to follow the truth. That's why I got to the points that I got to with my journey, is because I've been seeking for what's true and what's not what you believe, not your feelings, only because I done seen many men do things off their belief that wasn't true, but hold those things based on as damn near as if they is truth, rather than acknowledging it's just what they feel or they believe. Right? The Bible says the heart is wicked, who should know that? But nobody really follows that. You know what I mean? They just use it against other people, but they don't really follow. But to the video, right? So they're having a debate. It's a black man and a white man having a debate, and I'm gonna catch you up to the point that I'm at, and then I'm gonna just play it. So they're debating about reparations. The black guy, he's giving him all the facts. The white guy, they got the same script. All of them got the same script that's against reparations. Well, you weren't alive during slavery, and I wasn't a slave, and I wasn't a slave owner, as the white man would say, and you weren't a slave, pertaining to the black man. So why do you deserve reparations? But then when you go on and you say, hey, look, this is bigger than just slavery, even after slavery, the unfair treatment, and then you get on some examples that was only about 60 years ago. So we still got grandparents. I got grandparents that's over 60. Some people got great grandparents that's over 80 years old. Even like you get them examples like redlining, the unfair treatment with the credit bureaus, the unfair treatment, with law enforcement. All these things that could be documented, right? Unequal rights. And then you say, look, this is not just about slavery, it's about the unfair treatment. This is why we deserve reparations. Well, then they say, well, they make it more of a race thing, because it's jealousy in their mind, and they make it a race thing. They make it about white people versus black people, when reparations argument is not about white people versus black people. It's about the U.S. government versus black people. Those are two different things. But they make it seem like the money is coming out their pocket and they have to pay us. It's coming out the government pocket. But when the government spends money and sends it to Ukraine, when the government spends money and sends it to Israel, then nobody has any problem. There's no problem with that. But giving it to black people, then there's a problem, right? Okay. My point is that they already told us how they feel. Why are we still complaining and arguing? The majority wins. They're the majority, and the majority wins. The majority has already spoken, whether it's right or not. They already spoken, and they told us how they feel. They do not want to give us reparations. Why are we crying about it? We have the ability to leave. If you don't like this team and this team ain't treating you right, it's just like if you don't like your job and your job put rules, and you think they unfair rules, you have the ability to quit your job and go to another job. We have that ability, 100%. We have the ability to quit to leave America, go to another country, hundreds of countries, work towards getting citizenship, and renounce your American citizenship. You have that right. You could do that. You 100% buy a plane ticket, go somewhere else, and move somewhere else. And in the Bible, you had men that were citizens of, like for example, we were citizens, our ancestors were citizens of Egypt, so we would have been Egyptians, but we were Israelites by blood. We left Egypt. You had people groups, Israelites, that did that. The Lord is not against you leaving America and becoming a citizen in some other country. The Lord is not against that. The Lord did not say, and it's not in the Bible, that you have to remain an American citizen until the Lord comes back. That is not true. And it's not true that you have to live in America until the Lord comes back. The Lord, and that's in Deuteronomy 30, said he would gather us from wherever we are scattered. Wherever we are scattered. So we have to stop that narrative. They have that because you have agents. Their job is you have agents pretending to be men of the Lord. They're really agents that set up, and their job is to sway us and to stay. Their job is to rock us to sleep. Keep us here, keep us arguing, keep us divided, keep us fighting against each other so we don't have no power. That's their job. They're set up to do that. Don't follow those guys. But yeah, you know, they already spoke. They don't want to give us reparations, man. They don't think that we deserve it. And this is one thing that I'm learning, because I'm kind of like studying human behavior. And what I'm learning is that it doesn't matter about the truth. To me it do, maybe to you it do, but in the world the truth does not matter. You could have the truth and you could be able to prove the truth. But since we have this thing called belief, all a person needs is to make up an argument that sounds halfway decent, and that argument could be based on their belief, not truth, not what's real or not what's true or not. That argument has to just be based on what their belief is, and they can sit there and argue you forever. Even though you got the truth and you can prove it, they can sit there and argue forever based on belief. Right? That's the reason why you got to hold people in the land claiming to be who we are, because they could just say they believe it, and based on what they believe, then there comes a thing. Remember, my last video was pretty much talking about power over belief, really. If they have power, and this goes back to the white community being a majority, which gives them power in America, but there's other countries where the dynamics are different. Okay, but let's just say they got power in America. If you got power, then it doesn't matter about what the truth is. All that matters about is your belief, because you can put power behind your belief. The Roman Catholic Church has power. We don't believe that most of the shit that they believe is false, but they got power to put behind their beliefs. If you don't have no power to put behind your beliefs, it don't matter. Just like Hebrew Israelites today, we got beliefs, we ain't got no power to put behind it though. So that's why we're waiting for the Lord to come back. Because that's what we believe, is waiting for the Lord to come back. And the Lord's going to come back with what? The power. But that's our beliefs. Now let's let this play. I think I kind of caught us up to where they at.
United States federal government codified a legal caste system based around color. Now, it just so happens that the ones that were occupying those seats happen to be Caucasians of the mountains of Caucasus. Your inability to acknowledge the fact that when this happened from one generation, compounded across 200 plus years, if you're going to say, and sit across me and say, that if you repetitively restrict someone's economic ability to move, that it doesn't have a net negative, lasting impact that can impact generations.
You've had the economic ability to move for the last 100 years almost. And guess who's outperformed you? Asians, Hispanic.
So I wanted to stop at this point. That's why I wanted to kind of get close to this point so I can speak on it. I have to agree with the white man on the white guy on this point. The more I researched, the more I came to acknowledge what he's saying. We don't like it, and it don't feel good, right? And I spoke with my parents about this too, and because I was talking about like moving outside the country, right? And my parents was kind of like against it, but that's because, you know, like I'm the forerunner in my family. I'm at the head. I'm the boy that grew up, that, you know, out of all my family that had a little bit of success, so that kind of like put me at the head, you know. But I know I have to go out and I have to make a place, make a home, and then come back and show everybody. Damn near like Bird Box, open their eyes up and show them, like, look, it's great. You see what I'm saying? So I get that and I understand that, and I will. But we was talking about going outside the country, and it's like, what he's saying, I came to that acknowledgement. If you don't like something and you don't like it, well, the truth is, because I started traveling outside the country, and I've been outside the country. This is from experience. This ain't for no guy that's sitting on the block, on the middle of the block, with no experience in life, damn near, sitting there trying to tell you that, oh, if you go to Africa, you gonna starve. The Lord gonna make y'all starve over there. The Lord gonna send a famine over there, bro. You're more likely to have a famine in America than in Africa. Africa has more resources on Earth than any other continent on Earth, as a matter of fact. More natural resources, man. That includes fruits, that includes food, that includes potatoes, that includes animals for you to have food from, that includes cows, that includes, bro, chickens, that includes food, man. And they used to tell us that almost as a scare tactic, but I started to do research onto different places in Africa, different countries, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Senegal, Liberia, the list go on and on, right? I started to do more research into these countries. First off, I found out there's some beautiful countries over there. Then I found out there's millionaires and billionaires over there, so that means they got economies. And they got stock market exchanges over there. Then I found out there's Walmarts over there, there's airports over there, there's malls, shopping centers over there. Then I started realizing, then they got everything America got. They got luxury living over there. I started to realize that, and then I started to realize the resources, the natural resources that are there. Then I started to realize, like, what our elders used to tell us was scare tactics about Africa, and they didn't know what they was talking about, and it was just simply not true, the things they were talking about. They made it seem like if you go to Africa and you leave America, you're gonna live in a fucking in a teepee, or like a hut, or like a tent, and food was gonna be very scarce, and you're gonna fuck around and starve when all hell broke loose over there. That's gonna happen in America and then, like, I drove trucks for a living, so I understand. See, everything I'm telling you is not based on just belief. It's based on experience. I'm talking from experience. A lot of these guys don't. So I drove trucks all around America, whole country. I've been to all 48 states that you can get to, right? And I see the supply chain from an experience point. I mean, I'm picking up and delivering loads, and I drove trucks for over a decade. So I done been to every state and city and seen every state and city, and just a little bit, like, for your little info, most of the cities in America are all built the same way. Plots. They all look similar with they own little twist on it. They all look similar with like they own little twist on it. But when you, like, after you see all of them, you realize that San Antonio is damn near just like Houston. It's a little bit different twist, but it's the city, highways, same everything that makes up a city. So it really don't matter where you move. But back to the point, I seen the supply chain. I seen how the goods move, because the goods move by train, sea, and by trucks, and by air. You get mail. You got these big, gigantic jumbo planes that fly a whole bunch of mail. That's how you get your next day deliveries and stuff like that. So I seen the supply chain. When that breaks down, they said you got about 3 days, I believe, before the shelves and the Walmart and the supermarkets and the grocery stores break down, pretty much before they become empty if the economy broke down. You got like 3 days and the grocery stores are going to be empty. You got a couple weeks, they said, I think they said after 3 months, 80 to 90% of the people with a grid down situation, it's just 3 months, 90 days. They said 80%, 90% of the people will be dead from fighting, war, and starvation. It's going to happen here in America, and then when you read the book of 2nd Esdras, then you understand the prophecy that it's going to be scarce here in America. But they used to tell us to be scared about Africa because you was going to starve over there. That same thing happened in America. But back to my point, though, I got to agree with the white guy on there, because his comeback was, look, you had hundreds of years where you could leave, but you haven't. So at that point, you are a willing participant. Yes, we went through slavery. Yes, it was unfair treatment. But for 100%, because people have done it. People have done it, and I know people personally that have done it. You can leave America. But if you decide to stay, you are a willing participant to this system. You are agreeing and you're deciding to stay here and be a part of it. If you don't like it, you can move to another country, and that's not against the Bible, and that's not against the laws of Moses. As a matter of fact, them themselves, they left Egypt and went to Israel, but they went to the wilderness first. And there was many men that always left and traveled different countries, what we would say, but not countries, but like became citizens of different civilizations during that time. But his point to Rome, where he says, let's let it play.
Hispanics, Indians, people from the Middle East have outperformed you over and over again.
Why is that? Why is that?
That point right there. They performed us over and over because I'm sorry, I'm looking for something. Of course they were able to perform us over and over because of their foundation isn't the same as our foundation. Our foundation was coming from slavery. They're not. So of course they could come and perform us over and over. But not just slavery, we were broken down as a people where they might have not. They worked together as a people. There was institutions and different systems put together to divide us so we could stay conquered and stay slaves. So there was literally the U.S. government used different tactics to keep us divided, where they don't have that same thing going. So it's easier for them to just come together because they didn't have those different tactics of division that was put on them that they're still trying to overcome. We're still trying to overcome those things to this day.
Probably because they came here and they're not victimizing their slavery
or maybe because
and holding it over everybody's head. Well, maybe it's because they stood on their boots and they made a life for themselves.
And they were also able to label themselves as immigrants and receive assistance from the United States federal government off the backs of the work that black people have been doing to gain their own equivalent.
And you guys have too these last 15 years with DEI and everything else that they've rolled out.
Are you really going to sit here and repeat that? 15 years versus 250. How insane can you be?
Why are you yelling? Why are you so upset right now?
For the same reason you wanted me to shut the fuck up, because I'm not upset. I'm just holding
you are upset
to a standard that you want to run from.
No, I've asked you multiple times why you deserve reparations. You haven't been able to tell me. You basically said that because you are the 8th generation removed from slavery, you deserve it. And I got a question for you. Middle name.
You see what I'm saying? So like, what he's saying as a white man, like, it's not true. The guy answered him plenty of times on why he deserves reparations, and he mentioned things like redlining, all those things that I mentioned. He mentioned those things that took place 70 years ago, just 70 years ago, but he keeps arguing about 8 generations ago. So that means that his argument is not true, and the guy did answer him, but it just don't matter because he can just argue. He has arguing points. That's it. He can go with those argument points. Now, the bigger census is that, okay, it's really about the viewers. So he can have his argument points, but then you would think like, okay, well, the viewers are going to follow the truth, and that's where you go wrong at. The viewers don't care about the truth. The viewers are going to go with what they believe and who they want to agree with based on their feelings. It's never about the truth. So it's not like, okay, he got his talking points. Everybody can see that he's not truthful. So everybody's going to go to the black guy's side that is being truthful. It's not about that. They're still going to go to the white guy's side because he's just saying what they believe, whether it's true or not. And those beliefs go back to how they feel. He's playing into white America feelings. He's telling you how white America feels, which is what I said from the beginning. So it don't matter about truth. This is how they feel at the end of the day. So now it's on us not to go crying to them and ask the U.S. government for reparations. It's on us to do something about it. See, you get results, and I learned this as a little boy growing up, you get results by doing something. You don't get results. Me and my friends, right, when we were young, and I'm sure this happened to all y'all, right? Me and my friends, we used to sit down in each other, like we'll come over each other's houses, we might be chilling in the bedroom, just chilling, on the laptop, desktop or something like that. We might be chilling in the living room. We might be chilling outside on the front porch. We might be chilling on the back porch, right? And you will sit there and you will just dream with your friends about, 9 times out of 10, it was either about cars or women. Be like, man, I want this girl, man. Like, one day I'm gonna have this girl. Like, I'm gonna get her. My thing, I was never really like a womanizer. I always had, woman was always easy for me, very easy for me to get woman in the woman that I want. So it actually made me not a womanizer because it was something that was easy for me. So it was something I didn't really care about because it was easy for me. Where I see like a lot of guys that can't get women, they become womanizers because it was something that they never could get. So for me, my thing and my vice was cars, vehicles. So, I'll be sitting there talking about what car I want with my friends. Well, I want the Corvette. I want the Grand Sport. That motherfucker, $69,000. Man, one day I'm going to get that car. I'm going to be driving that car one day. You see what I'm saying? But you want to know what the difference was between me, why I was able to get a lot of that stuff with my friends? Is I put action behind it. See, it's one thing just talking about something. And this has been one of my whole beefs with the whole Hebrew Israelite community. It's one thing talking about something and putting action behind something. I think the Bible calls us to action, right? To actually make this thing happen for us, right? Not just go and talk, but make it happen. Talking is a part of it because you got to teach, you got to build. I get it, but you got to put action behind it, right? So that was one of the things about me is that they would sit there, they would just talk about it, beg about it, almost like it was gonna fall out the sky. A Corvette was gonna fall out the sky. Me, I actually went and put work and action and worked my way, and it actually became true. So I learned this as a boy. If you actually put action behind it, and I learned that nobody's gonna give you nothing. Nobody's gonna give you anything. Everything I got, I had to bust my ass for, and I had to work hard for. Blood, sweat, and tears. And even more important than blood, sweat, and tears, critical thinking. You know how many think nights I done had where I had to sit down and just figure it out. I had to sit down and think. My brain worked my brain works so crazy because it's like I'll sit down and I'll just visualize 1,000 different businesses and just think, okay, if I run this business, what's the operations of this business? What's the logistics of this business? Where are you getting the product from? Who are you selling it to? What's your target audience? I'll sit down and I'll go through 4 or 5 businesses and like just think of business models in my head. I just sat down and created whole apps in my head of how I think an app and what would be a great idea. You have to go into those think tanks, and then what I realized, like when you down at your lowest, that's when you get your best ideas. So when you get down at your lowest, don't look at it like a loss. Look at it like an opportunity to make you critically think so you can come out even harder. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what I realized is that like nobody gonna give you shit. And if you want somebody to give you something, you have to be able to leverage. You have to have leverage. That's the word. You have to have leverage if you want somebody to give you something. Right? What leverage do you got? So I own a car dealership. If I wanted people to give me money, my leverage was a vehicle. They wanted the vehicle, right? In exchange for the vehicle, I was able to, they gave me money in exchange for the vehicle that they want. That's how it works in the world. So you want money, you want reparations, well, you have to leverage something. You cannot go to the table and guess or just pray and beg. We need reparations, we want reparations. No, you have to leverage something. So like we were speaking earlier, why is the U.S. giving Ukraine money? Ukraine has something to leverage, right? Their position being right there next to Russia is leverageable because it's a great opportunity for America to put American base if they become allies with Ukraine right there next to Russia. So it's a good strategy. So they have something to leverage, which is their location. Why is they giving money to Israel? Because Israel has something to leverage. Well, they have a lot to leverage over America. We ain't even got to go into those things. You guys already know those things, right? It's all about leverage. So as Black America, we have things to leverage. If we want to get reparations, where they said reparations break down to $250,000 each Black person, right? Which we just gonna take the money and give back to them. So I don't even know why they scared. what we should do if they did give us that money, take the money, leave, and go create our own country and have sovereignty over our own land. Go buy a whole bunch of land and build our own country. You get 250,000 each black person. You add that up, just 10 black people, that's 2.5 million. Just 100 black people, which is not even a high school, not even a small school. That's 25 million. And then just 1,000 black people, that's 250 million. So 10,000 black people, which is nothing. You looking at what, 2.5 billion, if my math is right? You know what I'm saying, but just 10,000. Now imagine 100,000. Now imagine a million. Right? If they can even pay something like that, because they probably wouldn't even be able to pay it in cash, so you'll probably have to do it in land and natural resources, right? Which will still make us rich. Look at the Saudis. They found oil in the desert. And when you go to a place like Saudi Arabia, I mean, damn near seem like everybody rich over there. So we could do it, man. And it ain't no excuse, because you see other black countries that are able to do it, right? But, you know, we're going to come up with every excuse in the world, but those excuses will be out belief, and it would not be out facts. It would not be out truth. It's going to be out belief. But that's okay, though. Right? I done seen, they say we can't make communities because the Esau black man, he gonna come and tear down our communities. But I see black people. I see Rollo in Atlanta buying up a whole bunch of land. Even like where I'm from, in Springfield, Illinois, I know black people that bought up like a whole bunch of land and they own damn near like neighborhoods. It's possible. Look at the Boule class. And you can say, well, they in on it, so that's the reason why they could do it. But look at the Native Americans. When you go down south, there's Native American communities, right, where they own like blocks and blocks and blocks of homes. They own casinos. They own restaurants. They own schools. They own gas stations. They're Israelites too, so the curses ain't on them, and they can own all these things. Within here in America, the curse is not on them though, but they Israelites, right? But the curse is on us. We can't do it, but they can do it. Like, no, those are just excuses. Those are based on belief. It's not based on facts. And then, like, when you go to, like, I see a lot of black people moving to Ghana, and they buying land, and they buying it and starting their own communities. Look that shit up, man. It's true. It's happening, right? And, but let's keep going on this, though.
Julio, are you both your parents black?
They're both black.
Both are black. Are they both descendants of slavery?
They are.
So in your what happens with reparations if you have one white parent and one black parent? Do they get less? How does reparations even work in a system where there's can I just finish, bro? How does reparations even work in a society where just the government is written with fraud right now? I am talking about how reparations doesn't work today. If it had happened back then, more than happy for it. But it doesn't work today. And let's have that conversation rather than go back 8 generations and continue to complain about slavery.
Well, I already told you my reparations plan wouldn't be the $250,000. Obviously, you must have skipped that part. So what my reparations plan would look like would be offering home ownership assistance, offering business lines of credit, and actually looking at creating a reparations task force to analyze the current net negative economic impact.
But they're already doing business lines of credit. For example, in LA, if you're a small business owner, you get the ability to get small business loans over white Americans.
Based on what data? What source do you have for that?
I could talk to. There was a woman that came into my bar that literally told me this. She's with the SBA loan offices in downtown Los Angeles.
So once again, let me restate this. Median white household wealth is approximately 6 to 10 times that of black households, and that varies by the data set or the year. Home ownership gap remains at 30 percentage points between white Americans and black Americans. This is directly due to redlining policies that I hate to give her credit, but Jasmine Crockett brought this up, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has brought this up. There are still economic vestiges of racist originated policies, or racially originated policies that exclude black people from home ownership.
They also excluded immigrants as well. You act like other people did not go through this.
What I'm saying is that
why were they able to do better and you guys weren't?
Once again,
so again, home ownership is up amongst white Americans because we're the majority.
And see, this is what they say, like he said, man, and this is perfect. He said they're the majority, and that's what it goes back down to. We live in a majority white country. If you don't like it, you can go to other places. Yeah, it's not going to be a place on earth where there's majority black America, But you could go to other places where there's Israelites that are the majority, like especially in something like West Africa. Look at how Liberia formed. That was actually, they said that it was African Americans that were slaves, free slaves. So they weren't slaves no more, they were free men. With, white people that did help them, that did fund it, that helped them go back to Africa. But it have their own country. But what happened is we had Stockholm Syndrome, which we still got today. Which I believe, if there was like a second exodus from here, this would happen today. You would have blacks fighting against blacks because you would have blacks that want us to stay, that want to keep us here, which is the Boule class, because they were invited to the next level where they could benefit off of. So of course it would be in their interest to keep us here so they could continue benefiting off their own people. They wouldn't want us to go to a different country. You see what I'm saying? Where they can't benefit off us like that. So just like that, after slavery and people became free, you have blacks and whites that wanted us to go back to Africa, and then you have blacks and whites that fought to keep us here. The blacks and whites that fought to keep us here, keep us oppressed in an oppressed system, they won. So you did have some that did go back, and that's how Liberia was formed, and there was native people that was there too, and they actually had to go to war with the native people that was there. It's a whole history, you just have to look into it, but it's actually been done if you look at places like Liberia, right? But like he said, they're majority. But like he said though, like it's let's let it play, because they not gonna argue from it. All this is showing me that the truth don't matter. If they feel it and that's how they feel, they don't want to give us reparations. He's gonna keep having argument points, whether they true or not, against anything that the guy said. The guy's giving him facts. Like, look at the average white family home makes $250,000 a year, 280, somewhere between there, where annually, where the average black family makes 22,000. They damn near 10 times make more than 10 times more than us. But you are in a majority white country, and today that is by choice, and that's the hard thing to admit. Back then we had an excuse because we say it wasn't by choice, but today it is by choice.
Well, then that would mean that that's not really a valid data point, because when you look at per capita home ownership.
So this is per capita, that what you're repeating?
No, what I'm looking at is nationally, but you're saying.
So nationally, if we have 60% of the population, we would have more home ownership.
Right.
So you should be pulling from a per capita and not a nationally poll, right?
The reason I'm pulling from a national poll is because who controlled this nation for a longer period of time, white or black Americans?
I would say white Americans, yes.
Okay, so if white Americans controlled this country for a longer period of time, it would stand to reason that they could enact policies that could enable them to maintain their economic stronghold while systematically subjugating the economic ability to move for black Americans. Again, black people are the only race in this country, the only class of people in this country that were deliberately stigmatized based on color. Did that or did that not happen?
That's not true.
Who else in this country was stigmatized purely based on color?
You don't think other people don't experience racism?
You're not answering my question.
No, I am. I'm asking you a question.
Now you're the one yelling.
No, it's because you're talking over me.
Not really.
Yeah.
Bro, I do have the approval rates on the SBA stuff if you guys want it.
Yeah.
Black applicants 35% approval rate, white applicants 64% approval rate on SBA loans.
Is this Los Angeles?
This is national.
Read that one more time.
Can you do Los Angeles?
Yeah.
No. Go national first.
He read it. We don't need to hear it again.
So 64% versus 35. So more than
can you do me a favor? Can you narrow that down to the last 10 years, or can you narrow it down to like
for
the last
LA
year
or for national?
For LA.
Okay.
Mind you want to narrow it down to the last 10 years because it makes your argument look slightly better. When I'm looking at the national,
because you're okay with
data.
Racial discrimination as long as it's not happening against you.
No, I'm not. I never said I was okay with racial discrimination.
Then why are you sitting here refuting my argument? Why can't we get down to the bottom to
I said we can.
Okay, let's get down to the bottom. Do you admit that DEI policies have advantages towards black and minority groups?
Black people only made up 3% of DEI hires.
That's actually wrong. So I looked that up.
Okay, sure.
Black Americans only made 3% of DEI hires within the DEI framework.
Which is what I was talking about.
No. What I'm saying is Black Americans only made 3% of DEI hires in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. They made up more hires when they were actually implemented into business practices and governments.
Based on what data source?
Let's use the Fortune 500 only hired 6% of white applicants in 2021, with 60% of the nation being white applicants. That doesn't make sense. That obviously advantaged gave an advantage to Black Americans and minorities.
This is why we need fact checks, because every objective...
Look it up.
And I had this argument with a white guy. I'm talking from experience again. And that's how they feel. And it's damn near like robots, because they all say the same talking points. And if you prove each one, it doesn't matter about the truth. But let me tell you about my argument that I had with a white guy about this. Not an argument, we had a discussion. We had a long discussion. We stood face to face, man to man, and we talked about this. And with the DEI stuff, and that was his feelings. But it wasn't based, I could tell it wasn't based on any research he had. It's just based on what he heard his people say, right? And that's what people gonna go off. People gonna go off what do they people say. And you as a different people group than they people, it don't matter if you tell them the truth. They don't get no fuck. They gonna follow their people. And we the only people that don't do that. You see what I'm saying? So I can't even blame them for doing that, right? But that's what he said. He said, yeah, man, you got a better chance of getting hired than me because of the whole DEI stuff. And I told him, I was like, bro, how can you say if 90% of the company is white, and then they say, okay, for this last 10%, 5%, let's hire some other people of color, some black people. I mean, some black people, not other people of color, but let's hire some people of color, like some black people, right, for this last 10%. What? Hold on, our navigation is one. So what the white man took that as, which is just crazy, which I think they doing it on purpose. They doing it to be funny. Whoever, not all of them, some of them are sincere in their thoughts because they just following what other white people said, but the ones that came up with the idea, they did it for malicious reasons, right? So they said, look, that last 10%, there was another white man, or the last guy of the company, there was, hold on, here we go. The last white man, right, that was supposed to be hired. Let's just say there's 10 positions. 9 of those positions are white people, right? Then a white person applies for the last position, right? There's 1 position left. There's 9 white people. Damn. My navigation, that motherfucker will tell you, go right, turn left, go right, keep straight. Okay, now keep straight until, okay, but yeah, so it's like, the last position, right? A white man applies for it and a black person applies for it, right? Now, the other 90%, there's 10 positions. The other 9 is all white people. The DEI said, look, man, we trying to make things more fair. It's not fair, but that last position, give that to a black person. You see what I'm saying? Now, because of DEI, then it's like a white man is applying for it and a black person is applying for it. What they are crying about now is what a black person got the job because of DEI, but they not looking at that the other 90% was already white people that got in through the door. So finally a black person got into the door, but then they'll say, well, what if the white guy was more qualified than the black guy? He just got in because DEI. But the qualifications, like whoever is like determining who is more qualified, that system has always been proved to be flawed anyways. Of course you're going to say the white guy is more qualified. Of course you are. You're just going to say that. You see what I'm saying? But that's what they're complaining about. So just imagine it. You live in a country where 90% of the company is white, and then the last position, a white man and a black man fights for it. The black man gets it because of DUI, and they complain about that. Because they want 100%. You see what I'm saying? Or even closer as they could get to 100%. Imagine it. That's the country that you live in. And that's what they're complaining about. And they know that, but they, like I said, you just act like you dumb. It's just like, if I got the money, right? If I got the money and you don't got no money, right? But you want to get some money and you need to go through me to do it because I hold the power because I make up the majority of the company. All I got to do is keep playing dumb. Come up with little arguments, make you think I really believe them, and keep playing dumb whenever you ask me for the money. Oh man, no, that's not fair. Oh man, what about this? What about that? Just keep putting obstacles and stumbling blocks in front of you so I get to keep the money. That's all they doing.
You can look it up on your phone.
Every measurable statistical data point that we have as of 2025 indicates that black Americans, male or female, made up 3% of all DI hires across this country. What you're saying,
that's not true.
Okay.
Because
So
so where are you getting that from?
US
So what percentage of black hires were DEI you want me to look up?
What you can look up for what year did you just use? What year did you just use? You said
No. So let's go back to what you had just said. You said black Americans only made up 3% of all DEI hires.
Right.
I'll look that up.
But it's actually 3% of DEI within the DEI framework. So people that had, for example, a DEI program in their business, only 3% of black Americans were hired for those programs.
And while we're at it, remind me what DEI exists for to begin with.
You see what I'm saying? So the white guy, what he's going to argue is only 3% of DEI. But outside of DEI, there was more practices that wasn't under the DEI framework. That's what he's going to say. But those things can't be measured. You see, so like he takes it away from proof and facts, and then he's always going to take it to belief, which is just proving everything I've been saying. You can always argue from belief, because belief is not based on facts, and it's not based on truth. You can always argue from belief. This is why you got the flat earth versus the round earth argument still going, because it's based on belief. Even if they do fly out and they show you the earth and they give you the truth and the facts, you can still argue from belief. You can always, just remember that. You can always argue from belief. Same thing that the Christian dude, Wes Huff, do. Of course, it's his job to refute and go against anything that goes against Christianity. And he can always be able to do that when belief comes into it. It's always about belief. So you got to take things off belief, and we have to start operating. This is the problem with black people. We so far into belief all the time. I believe this, I believe that, we have to get power. That's where you get what you want, is when you got power and leverage. Leverage is power. You got power, not belief, man. Belief ain't gonna get you nothing but where we at right now. You have to have power, man. That's what I'm seeing. And a lot of people don't like that, because when we get to the Bible, people want to look at it like, oh, you just have to believe. Just believe. Not saying that belief doesn't play a part. You have to believe first, of course. But you can't just stop at belief, because faith without works is dead, right? You can't just stop at belief. You have to, when you believe something, then you have to put action behind it. Then you got to gain leverage. You got to gain power. You have to put power behind it. Works.
Why does DEI exist to begin?
Honestly, it's a racial component to try to disadvantage the white people and give advantages to minorities. So
disadvantage white people?
Yeah.
They've had an advantage in this country for how many years?
So it's okay to disadvantage a group.
No.
That's what you're saying.
So what that is
actually what you're saying is okay to disadvantage a group because they've had an advantage for so many years.
That's
which would be better if we gave everybody opportunity.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, you're confused. I get it.
I'm not confused at all. I'm
I'm
going to force you to admit how fucking stupid you sound. So white people in this country have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power structure for 244 years. An economic corrective action like DEI is only meant to attempt to balance economic.
Why do you think we've had control for the last 250 years? Because we've been a majority.
Because
what do you think
stole
happened?
this land, subjugated it from the Indians.
And this is what I'm talking about. You're a cultural Marxist. We stole this land. No, we conquered it. That's way different.
Same shit.
It is not.
You discovered some shit that was already here. That people
nobody had control of the full Americas ever. They were fighting. There were Indian nations fighting over each other. We didn't steal the land. We conquered it. Way different. And you should owe a lot of thanks to people that colonized this land. In fact, you should owe a lot of thanks to people that are white. You're wearing a suit that was invented by a white guy, typing from a phone that used the internet, invented by a white guy, a phone that was.
So, and this is the thing, though. The white guy points is dumb, but then he do have a good point, and the one good point that he got is, if you don't like it, then don't use it. Don't be a part of it. He always have that point. He can always stand on that, and I have to get that, and that's just me being fair. And to me, that's the haymaker. Yes, the black guy, he got all the facts and truth, but the white guy has this one haymaker, this one ace card that's in his books, no matter what, that gives him the win. Then it all wraps into the same thing. It don't matter. What he's saying is basically, it don't matter what they did and how they did it. they was always going to have the power because they're the majority. And I get that. They are the majority. Just like if you go to Saudi Arabia, you're going to be subjugated to their laws, maybe even Shia laws, because they make up the majority to make the laws. We have to learn that. We have to become the majority of somewhere if we want our way of life to be. We have the money, we have the wealth, we have the power as Black Americans. We have more wealth than whole countries out there. We have to do what they did, basically. You have to go, you have to conquer a land or buy it and build your civilization. You have to gain power to protect it, like North Korea, like Iran is trying to do. You have to build allies, and then you can have your way of life. That's how the world works. If you don't want to do that, and you don't want to do what it takes to do that, then stop complaining. That's what he's saying. Like he said, like he started pointing out to the black guy, you got a suit on. That's our shit. That's what they saying. Black guy can come refute that and say, no, a lot of these things was created by the black man and y'all stole it. But then the white guy can come back like, okay, we had the power to do it. They had the power to do it at the end of the day. It's their shit.
Invented by a white guy. You benefit from whiteness, so I'm really sick and tired of this argument that, colonize this, colonizer that.
If you go, I'm light-skinned, Bo, so if you go far
what
back
does that
enough,
mean?
If you go back far enough in my genealogy, I have white in me as well as black. The point I'm making to you is, one, Columbus discovered some shit that Native Americans were already living on. They killed the Indians, conquered the land, they still stole it. Not only did you steal the land, you then bring over slaves because you're too lazy to do your own damn work, build your own White House, you have my people build it, then you subjugate us and treat us as property for 244 years.
Do you
when we
think
attempt to make
Americans
corrective action, let me finish, when economic action is attempted to be installed to correct a severely, ridiculously high economic advantage that people with your skin tone have had for 244 years, now, oh my God, the white people are under attack. No, that's the fragile white fucking
But they supposed to feel that way. What he's saying is true, but they supposed to feel that way. They not supposed to give up their power, man. See, black people, we became so soft and sensitive, man. What black people need to do, every young black boy and girl that's growing up need to take studies. And I don't know what these studies are, so I'm just going to try to explain it the best I can. Studies in the animal kingdom. At some point, some age, every black boy and black girl needs to study animals. Study zebras. Study lions. Study panthers. Study tigers. Study alligators. Study giraffes. Wildebeest. You need to go look at the wild and see how things are done to get an understanding of this world. It's eat or be eaten, man. And everything, you got to get an understanding of what I'm trying to say, an ecosystem. If I'm saying that right. An ecosystem. Right? You can complain about it, but it comes down to the power at the end of the day. In your mind as a black person, thinking that white people are supposed to willingly give up their power and their advantages. You don't understand how the world works. That's why I say you need to study the animal kingdom, because you learn a lot of things from it. Actually, the animal kingdom is where we get a lot of our inventions from. You know, a lot of those planes and those jets that they make is based on study of what? Birds. A lot of the technology, cloaking technology, I'm dropping jewels, I'm giving you info, is based on the study of octopus and different animals that could cloak. Right? A lot of technology is based on looking at the animal kingdom and trying to replicate the special abilities that these different animals got. A lot of our drugs come from a lot of different animals. Of course, our food and stuff come from a lot of different animals. You know, we pick up a lot of knowledge from the animal kingdom. We need to study the animal kingdom, right? Because it shows you that how things work. Ain't no lion pride gonna give up their advantage over another lion pride or over the land. That's not how it works. You can have the truth all day long. The truth does not matter, and the truth does not matter in the wild when it comes to animals. It's eat or get eaten. And you want to know what matters in the wild, like in the jungle, right? You want to know what matters? Power. That's why you see all the hyenas. They be 30 hyenas. They'll team up against one lion because they understand the lion is more powerful than us. And in order for us to overtake this lion, it's going to take 30, 40 of us to run him off, so we can get the dead carcasses. So they come together in numbers to get more power. It's all about power. So the white people, they understand that, okay, yeah, maybe just like a lion versus a hyena. The hyena is not physically stronger than the lion individually, but with numbers they can be. So they understand that too. Well, we're not stronger than black people individualized, but we make up the majority, so we're stronger than them by numbers. They understand that. They 17%, we 66%. We they damn near, what, 3 times bigger, 3 times more than us? More than that, 3-4 times more people than us. And then they so smart with it because you take a whole country and you scatter us all out. Then those numbers even grow even more because now we scattered. So we not even together concentrated in one area where we can get power. But you see what happens when we do get concentrated in one area, called Atlanta, right? Then you see a lot of black wealthy families, boule class, black people having power down there, influence in the government, because you got an area where we're concentrated together with large numbers. But then they smart. They'll come break that shit up eventually, which they already have started. But then they smart, because then they got the jail population, right? Put a lot of us in jail, then that takes even more of us off the street and take power away from us even more. Then they got the whole LGBTQ, get a good population of them to be, on this side, then that takes even more power. Then the rest of us, they divide and conquer us through like religion, like just like the Hebrew Israelite community, they divide and conquer us through different things like that. Christian church getting old, we gonna get y'all something new called the Hebrew Israelite community. But then we gonna have 1,000 different camps and groups to keep y'all even more divided over religion. So that's their whole job, is to keep us divided and conquered, as they should. They should do that. If I was talking to a white man, I'd say your people should do that if y'all want to keep y'all power. If y'all want to keep y'all power on earth, that's what y'all should do. And also, if y'all want to keep y'all power, y'all should make Russia y'all allies. Y'all shouldn't be fighting against Russia. Y'all need to sit down at the table and become allies for Russia. Now, me as a black man, I'll be like, no, I hope that they don't become allies and that Russia do destroy them. But as a white man, yeah, you should hope. I'm just being unbiased. They should not want to give up their power. They should argue about DEI and us getting in the door. They should not want to give us wealth. They should want to keep it going in their favor. They should want those things. Naturally, we complaining because they want those things. They should want those things. The problem is we got to get on that same type of timing.
That's all it is.
This is why I also think you're racist.
No, I'm honest.
Yeah, you are.
I'm honest.
You're extremely racist.
How?
Because you obviously hate white people.
I don't.
You're sitting here complaining about 250 years of subjugation. Doesn't mean you don't have any sort of bias or prejudice against them.
Is telling the truth biased?
No, it's not.
Okay, then, so how am I being racist?
Well, you're mad about 250 years of subjugation, and you're willing to sacrifice equality and merit for the betterment of your people over others.
Never said that, Bo. Never said that.
No, you're exemplifying.
If somebody, your great-great-great-great-grandmother, and then continued to do that to her grandchildren, didn't even claim the kids that they had with your grandmother, then could kill someone that looked like you just because you were black, just because you were the wrong color, that wouldn't piss you off a little bit?
Do you not think that's happening in this country right now?
Can you
where
answer
they're
that
just
question
killing
first?
Irina Zarutska?
Can you? I'm not. That has nothing to do with
I'll be honest.
asked
I
you.
wouldn't know if my great-great-great-great-great-grandmother got
Trident Vibes, a soft gum.
So right there, I think I'm gonna end it off right there, so this isn't too long. It don't matter what he say, the white guy is gonna come back with what his belief, and he always got the ace card, which is, if you don't like it, don't use it. If you don't like it, leave. Don't use the system. If you don't like the system, leave it. He always got that, because when he say that, that means that, well, if you are here, then you got to stop complaining, because you're choosing to be here and be a part of the system. You have to stop complaining, because this is what it is. If you don't like it, leave. And there is no world where you get equality in America, because they make up the majority of the population. That's not going to change, right? And they shouldn't let it change. If they know what's good for them, they wouldn't let it change, and they not going to let it change. Of course they not. You know, it's different reasons of why they have the whole ICE thing. I just seen today an article that they just passed a bill to give $70 billion to ICE agents. So now this guy and us, we sitting here arguing over getting reparations. They don't want to give us that, but they just passed the bill to give $70 billion to ICE agents. So they got the money to do things. They just don't want to give it to us, and they showing us that. So now that they are showing us that, we have a choice to make. Our choice is, what leverage do we have? And we have the choice to use that leverage. Okay, cool. Well, then you need our labor for this economy to keep going. You don't want to give us reparations? Okay, we all not going to go to work. We all going to stop working. We're not going to do that, right? Because we too divided to do that. Or, you know what? We all going to move to Atlanta. All black people, I don't give no fuck what your religion is, your background, or however you feel. All black people, we're all moving to Georgia. And majority of the black people in this country, we're all going to live in Georgia, live around each other, and we're going to try to gain some type of power with being a community. Well, we're not going to do that. You do see a movement towards that, but we're not going to do that. And the white person, the argument against that would be, well, they're going to stop us from doing that. They're going to infiltrate it. And then my response to that would be, well, they should. But you got to fight. Just like Ukraine's fighting. They getting their cities and shit blown up. People getting killed left and right every day. Thousands and thousands. Cities and shit blown up, but they still fighting for what they believe in. You got to fight for it. It ain't going to come easy. But if you scared, you ain't going to get nothing. Right? Or we could just leave America. We could do an exodus. It's right there in the Bible. We could do it. Hey, well, they gonna stop it. Hey, well, then, hey, scared, you ain't gonna get nothing. They gonna, anything we do, they gonna try to stop it. But that don't mean that we can't be successful. That's where the belief point is. You gotta believe, and then you gotta put works in to do it. Right? But yeah, you know, we gotta leverage something. Well, you guys don't want to give us reparations, you don't want to treat us right, then we gonna leave. Right? But so the white guy, he always got that ace in the cards, right? And he's always gonna have an argument towards whatever you say, no matter what you say is true. Talk don't matter. He's always gonna have an argument. Talk doesn't matter, you gotta get the power first. Like I seen, like look at for examples like a Burkina Faso with Ibrahim over there. That's like right above Ghana. Actually, they border with Ghana. It's actually they share border with Ghana, right? Ibrahim, he had, I believe, if I'm saying the story right, he had a small military, and what he was able to do was take control of the country. Now he had his policies and what he think and thought. But those policies that come first, what came first is physical, military dominance to take control over the country. Once he took control of the country, then that's when your policies come in. But he had to have, and the military represent what? Power. Had to have power. What you believe in, what you think, none of that matters if you don't have power behind it. The guy that has the most power, at the end of the day, his belief is what becomes standard, what becomes law. So with that, I'm going to say salvation to be left. Sure.